The other day I found a computer in a skip. It wasn't the full computer, but interestingly, it was the motherboard and the case, and I don't know why I dragged it out of the skip. I just thought, that's fun. Interestingly, the motherboard, I thought it was bricked. I thought it was absolutely buggered, but I thought I'd give it a shot. And so I got a power supply and I plugged it in. Let me go back a step. I was just about to trade in the old AMD Ryzen 3200G that I had that used to be in my server. And I needed more PCIe lanes or something. Oh yeah, that was it. I needed to put another SATA card in it, and I needed more PCIe. So I was ready to trade this in. It was in a box, ready to go. And then this computer turned up, and I was like, let's see if it works. And so I cleaned it down with alcohol, isopropyl alcohol. I cleaned it down with isopropyl alcohol and crossed my fingers and turned it on. And of course it didn't work. But I tinkered with it a little bit more, realised that the reason it wasn't working was because the RAM wasn't seated properly. Wasn't seated? I don't know, something like that. And eventually it turned on. So I was pretty happy about that. The case was fucked though. It didn't have one side. One side was completely missing. But in the corridor here was a load of an 8x4 there was a 2.4 by 1.2 meter sheet of Opal clear plexi, and it's for the bin because it's absolutely nasty, but this stuff cuts really nice. This stuff looks nice when you shine light through it. I thought that would probably be the perfect thing for this. And so I cut a piece, sanded it down, got all the nastiness off it, and drilled some holes in it, put it on the side of the case, and it's great. And so now I had to buy an SSD. They've got expensive, but a 240 gigabyte SSD is still not what you would call expensive. I also ended up buying a new power supply, which was 15 quid. So all told, I've spent 30 quid on this. But it's just an interesting side project in my life. And now I'm kind of looking for something to do with it. So I installed Linux on it. I installed Mint. And it runs really nicely. Obviously, it's an older, low-end processor with integrated graphics. So then I was like, not that expensive to buy a 3060 with 12 gigs of RAM, 200 quid. So I picked up another power supply, one that actually can deliver, it's only 50 watts more, but it can actually deliver the amount of power that a 3060 needs. So maybe I'm going to throw a 3060 into it. Maybe. But let's crack it open and put this new power supply in, because I need to do that. I'm not a real big computer guy. Oh yeah, I also fixed the 3D printed a little foot for it. I'm not a real big computer guy, so I probably am doing loads of stuff wrong. But I feel I know enough to get by. I think there's probably something a bit screwy about being able to build a computer but saying you're not really a computer guy, because I guess there's a lot of people who just wouldn't know. But it's not that hard. It's really not that hard. like if there was soldering to do, that'd be a different story. You know what I mean? Like building a, you know, if you're like DOS dude, putting new storage in like Mac laptops, that's a different game altogether. This is just like plug some things together, hope they work. Oh, why did I cable manage everything? Because it's the right thing to do. So I'm replacing a 500 watt power supply with a 550 watt power supply, but this one's Corsair and this one is Clit, something like that. Bag of shit is what it is. Hate that that massive connector. Hate that one. The motherboard, the motherboard cable wouldn't reach, so that's another problematic thing I've done, is extend it with Wago connectors. I don't know if that's actually problematic. It just didn't feel like the optimal thing. I feel like you can just tell that's a high quality product. So I made a video series years ago about building a Hackintosh, because I think at the time, it's pandemic era, but it must, I don't know actually, it was pre like M1 Mac computers. So it was in that weird era of like really expensive, really hot running Macs, and not really a viable desktop option other than like an iMac Pro, which is a little bit out of my budget. That's annoying. The CPU one isn't long enough to go around the back. What do these connectors do? Like the ones with 4 big pins. Don't know what they are. I might buy a graphics card now. I've already got to go out and buy, I want to get a NVMe M.2, whatever you call it. Let's go in there. Is this space for 2? Interesting. Yeah, let's go get more stuff for this. Hello, you're right, Sean. Cheers. I'll just stick this.
What have you got now?
Nothing at the moment, like no GPU, so just like the integrated one on the computer I'm using, which thought this was going to be a bit of fun. I thought I could play about with AI locally and just have a little, I don't know, it was just a little project that was going to be like nice, local AI run on a computer that I found in a skip. And I kind of got it working, but it's bad. It's really not good. It kind of takes forever to set up, and you run into issues, and yeah, I guess you can't reliably run an AI assistant on a computer you found in a skip. So I'm going to package this GPU that I bought up and sell it on. So this video is a bit of a fail. I'm sorry that I wasted your time. Although maybe there's a lesson to be learnt here. Learnt. That it's not worth it. I think my predictions about AI are kind of correct. I just wish I'd spoken about them more. The on-device stuff, I think you're going to see Apple and maybe some other companies implement that a little bit. The big stuff is just going to get too expensive for regular folks to use. Between the unsubsidized, like, sort of potential future of AI and the expense of the hardware, it just doesn't feel viable to run, like, big heavy models to do kind of just basic stuff, like helping you out stuff. Right, okay, here's the rant. It was always going to come. If you're talking about AI as like a general term, you're just throwing that term out there, it's stupid, because there are tons of things that rely on computers learning stuff, neural processing. There are things in like science and in maths that are just gonna be around, and they're really good, and they're very specific, and these companies maybe have huge data centers themselves. And then you've got the stuff like that runs in video editing software that I use all the time, the AI stuff that comes with DaVinci. Calling it AI when like previously it wasn't called AI, and it's still basically doing the same thing, like the noise reduction, that kind of thing. That is a different thing to an LLM. That is a different thing to image generation. And even like Photoshop image generation, it's just, for the most part, the things I use it for, it's like a slight evolution on the Jesus tool, the healing tool. AI's kind of got a naming problem, a marketing problem. LLMs seem like this thing that's got loads of potential uses, but kind of doesn't. The coding stuff, probably great. I know I've had to have like Claude help me through writing some scripts to do things on Linux, which has made moving to Linux, or at least adopting Linux into my sort of workflow, a lot easier. There's things that don't exist. One of the simple things is an application on Mac called Post Haste, which basically just is a templating thing for folders, and it's really useful. I've managed to sort of get Claude to make a script that does the same thing. That means that I can carry on that workflow in Linux and not on the Mac. So if I'm at my Linux machine and I'm importing footage, I can just use that. Things like that, really helpful. But I wouldn't pay for that. I'd just go back to using the one on the Mac, or I'd just do it the long way. So I think once we see, and this is the thing that I suggested might happen, once we see the true cost of these LLMs, like we sort of saw with Sora, it just was unsustainable for them to keep going. Once we see this, and once like that kind of hits the mainstream messaging, this whole thing's going to kind of fall apart a bit. And that's not to say AI is not going to exist anywhere. It's all over the place. Machine learning, computers doing stuff that isn't just hard-coded into them is a good thing. isn't it? I just think the way that it's been implemented and the way it's been sold to people is a fuck up. Okay, rant over. Thank you for watching. Sorry if I've wasted your time. This was not a tutorial. Right. Laters.